When we talk about substance use disorder, our minds usually go straight to the health crisis, right? But what if I told you it's also one of the biggest economic problems we face? A problem that, believe it or not, affects every single one of us. So yeah, let's get into it.
Let's just start with a number that is, well, it's almost impossible to wrap your head around. $3.7 trillion. That's the estimated price tag of substance use disorder in the US every single year. And this isn't some far-off, abstract number. It's baked into everything, from our healthcare costs, to our taxes paying for the justice system, to just lost potential in our workforce. And behind that huge dollar amount, there's an even bigger human number. Over 46 million Americans fit the definition of having a substance use disorder. I mean, that's a huge slice of our country. These aren't just statistics. These are our friends, our family members, our coworkers, our neighbors.
Okay, but this next number, this is the one that really floors me. Even with this massive, widespread need, a staggering 95% of people with a substance use disorder didn't get any kind of treatment back in 2021. That's a huge, huge disconnect between the size of the problem and what we're actually doing about it.
So let's just recap real quick. We've got a multi-trillion-dollar issue on our hands. It's affecting over 46 million people, and 95% of them aren't getting the help they need. This really sets the stage for the big challenge we're going to dig into today.
Now, you'd think with a problem this massive, the organizations out there on the front lines would be getting all the support they could handle. But that's where we hit a wall. There's this fundamental challenge that's keeping the whole crisis spinning. The very programs that are designed to save lives, and as we're about to see, save a ton of money, are often running on shoestring budgets. They just don't have the time or the resources to do these super complex economic studies that they need to make a solid data-driven case to the people holding the purse strings. And that really brings us to the core question, doesn't it? How does a small, local recovery program, one that sees the incredible human transformations every single day, translate that into the language of spreadsheets and financial reports? How do they prove their worth in dollars and cents?
Well, this is where things get really interesting. A team at the Fletcher Group saw this exact problem, and they decided, you know what? We can build something to fix this.
So they created what they call an economic calculator. It's basically a super accessible tool that allows any recovery organization, big or small, to plug in their numbers and figure out their own economic impact. It helps them calculate their benefits, their costs, and, this is the big one, their return on investment, their ROI. And what makes this calculator so effective is that it looks at the whole picture. It's not just one thing. It measures the impact across 4 huge areas: savings in healthcare, savings in the criminal justice system, gains in workplace productivity, and of course, the incredible value of just saving lives and improving people's health. Now, that last one, reduced premature mortality and morbidity, that's actually the biggest piece of the puzzle. It's measured with a concept called quality adjusted life years, or QALYs. It's a fancy term, but all it really means is that economists have a way to put a value not just on living longer, but on living a better, healthier life. It's about valuing wellness itself. All right, so the theory sounds great, but what does this actually look like when you use it? Let's check out a real-world case study. We're going to look at a report the calculator generated for a program called Outreach 419. Okay, so the program plugged in its info. They're based in Michigan. It costs $100,000 a year to operate, and they serve about 500 people. For this analysis, they assumed a 70% success rate, and they wanted to project the benefits over 5 years. Simple enough, right? Those are the inputs. Now, let's see the results. Whoa. Okay, so the calculator projected a total economic benefit of nearly $356 million over those 5 years. And just look at this breakdown. A whopping 82% of that value, it comes from reducing mortality and morbidity. That is the economic value of saving lives and giving people their health back, right there in black and white. So, what happens when you compare that tiny operating cost to those massive benefits? You get this number, $624.25. That's the return on investment. Let me say that again, because it's kind of unbelievable. For every single dollar put into the Outreach 419 program, the community got back over $624 in benefits. I mean, that is just an absolutely mind-blowing ROI. Now, I know what some of you are probably thinking. 70% success rate? That sounds a little optimistic. And you know what? That is a totally fair question. The great thing is, the calculator is built for exactly that kind of skepticism. And this is where you see the real power of this tool. The analysis shows that even if you drop that success rate all the way down to just 20%, which is way more conservative, the program would still generate a return of over $177 for every single dollar invested. The value is just undeniable, no matter which way you slice it. So what all this really demonstrates is that this calculator is so much more than just a neat academic exercise. This thing has the potential to completely change how we talk about and fund recovery.
It gives these amazing organizations the language of data, the language of finance, to finally prove their worth. It helps them fight stigma by showing that their work isn't a drain on resources. It's one of the single best investments a community can possibly make. And that, of course, helps them get the funding they need to save more lives.
And you can see just how much this means in the real world, from people like Don Roberts, an executive director out in rural Montana. He says that for him, just having access to this kind of expertise, it's a total game changer. It lets a small organization make a case that's just as powerful as a huge one. So I think I'll just leave you with this final question to chew on. Now that we have tools that can prove with cold, hard numbers that investing in recovery isn't just the compassionate thing to do, but it's also the smartest financial decision, a decision with returns that would make any venture capitalist jealous, why aren't we doing more of it?